Welcome to On Deck with Mercury. I'm Mercury Payton, here today to discuss the I-66 project and the Cedar Lane Bridge project and how it may impact all of our lives. I know we're all very curious about all of the construction going on around us. I'm very curious about it. And so today we're going to have a really great conversation to learn more about it. And I have two people who are really in the know about the project. The first one is Michelle Holland. She's the communications manager for VDOT's mega projects. And Nancy Smith is the public relations manager for FAM Construction. Michelle and Nancy, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mercury. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for inviting us in, and thank you for your partnership.
Briefly describe the overall I-66 project, both within and outside the Beltway. What is it and why is it being done?
Sure. VDOT and its partners have major efforts underway to completely transform the I-66 corridor. As we all know, 66 is a very congested travel corridor, one of the most congested in our regions, very unreliable and unpredictable in terms of travel times and just getting through your daily trip. So we are working very hard to provide travel improvements throughout 66 in Northern Virginia. Our major initiative that is underway is our Outside the Beltway project, Transform 66 Outside the Beltway, where we are widening and building new express lanes for 22.5 miles from the 495 Capitol Beltway interchange clear out to Route 29 in Gainesville. That's a public-private partnership project that VDOT is engaging in along with our partners that are here with us today to talk about construction. With that project, we're not only widening and providing new lane capacity, we're providing new travel choices by providing drivers a choice to take the new, more predictable express lanes. It's also a travel choice that is free to carpoolers traveling with 3 or more individuals and buses. So there's a very positive transit component to the express lanes as well. Another benefit for the public is we are replacing a lot of the aging infrastructure throughout that corridor, including many of the bridges that cross over 66. And that's what we're here to talk to you about today. For about a 4-mile stretch of 66 east of the Beltway or inside the Beltway, we are, VDOT is managing a widening project where we are adding a 4th lane. We're replacing old noise walls with new noise walls. We're building a new pedestrian and bicycle bridge over the W&OD trail over Lee Highway, and just really providing much needed congestion relief on a really busy, congested stretch of 66 heading eastbound. All of those improvements in conjunction with our rush hour express lanes that were put into place a couple of years ago inside the Beltway on 66. All of those initiatives are part of our program to improve and transform 66.
As part of the project, I understand that Cedar Lane Bridge will be reconstructed. Tell us how about this segment will be part of the project, and when will it happen, and how long will the Cedar Lane be closed, and from what locations?
Sure. Gonna ask Nancy to take this one.
Sure. So Cedar Lane Bridge will, over I-66, will close on or about Friday, May 15th, so just here very soon. It will be closed from between Cottage Street on the north side to Hilltop Road on the south side, so just this part over I-66. It will be closed for approximately 6 months, which will allow us to completely demolish and reconstruct the bridge in that time period. And the bridge is being reconstructed. As Michelle said, it's an aging infrastructure, but also I-66 underneath the current bridge is widening, and so we need to reconstruct the new bridge on a wider bridge to accommodate that new highway underneath.
So why was the decision made to close the road completely and reconstruct the bridge in about a 6-month period rather than leave a lane open and replace the bridge over a longer period of time?
Sure. So as we began planning our work on this bridge, we looked at multiple construction options. One of those did include a multi-phase approach that would have seen reconstruction and demolition of the bridge take at least 28 months, if not longer. and then we also look at the single phase approach, completing construction in approximately 6 months. As the project team delve into our plans and looking at how we would rebuild this bridge, it was deemed that doing it in a single phase, closing the bridge fully and completing the bridge in approximately 6 months was the best plan to go about. There are a number of benefits to doing it this way versus a multi-phase approach. Certainly a multi-phase approach would leave some part of the roadway open. However, the impact on the surrounding community would be for a much longer period of time, 28 months or more. Being able to do it in a single phase, closing the bridge altogether, we are able to more quickly and efficiently demolish the bridge and rebuild it in that 6-month time period. It also, the time period coincides with Metro's planned shutdown of the Orange Line over the summer months this coming summer. And so by having the bridge closed during that time, a lot of our work actually has to take place over top of that Metro line and allows us to take advantage of that Metro line being shut down while we have our construction going on over top of it.
So you've done this before in other places. So how's the receptivity been with the residents in other places in using this approach that you're using here now?
And doing a full closure versus a phased approach?
Has it been better?
Construction is, has its impacts in various ways. Certainly, noise is always a factor with some construction activities. And generally, we find that the faster we can get in and reconstruct something and then get out of people's lives, the better and people are off and the happier our neighbors tend to be. And it allows us to build things in a more efficient approach as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what is the detour for vehicles in that area?
Sure. So while the bridge will be closed, for vehicles, there'll be a signed detour directing people to Gallows Road. On the north end, down Cottage to Gallows, and on the south, Hilltop and Lee Highway to Gallows to get around the bridge. We'll also be detouring bikes and pedestrians since the bridge will be completely closed. Similar detour route, but taking advantage of existing sidewalks along Cottage and on various sidewalks on the south, as well as shared use path on Gallows Road. And we will also there's a couple of sidewalk connections, crosswalks that are missing. We're looking at adding some additional crosswalk connections as part of that as well, working with VDOT and our partners.
Great. And what about bus interaction? Is there anything that's going to impact the bus routes?
So as we went through our planning of this and looking at transit impacts, Fairfax Connector does have 2 bus routes that use Cedar Lane Bridge to complete their route between Tyson's Metro and Dunloring Metro stations. That's routes 462 and 467. So the project team, in working with Fairfax County and Fairfax Connector, will be rerouting the bus routes and implementing some additional service expansion along that service line. So starting May 9th, people that use those bus routes today will see a change in how the bus drives through the corridor, but they will also have additional expanded hours during weekdays as well as expanded service on the weekends. And for users during the phase where the bridge is closed, that expanded service will be free for the user to use.
Wow, so May 9th is coming up.
May 9th is coming up. So we're pretty close, so that service will start here within a few days. And then the bridge will close at the end of that week. So.
And you've all notified residents already, or will they be notified?
So we're in the process of getting information out. Obviously, during this coronavirus pandemic, it changes how we typically do our jobs. And I think we're all experiencing challenges with that. Certainly, this is a great tool for us to be able to get information out. I know that Fairfax Connector has a robust website where they're putting all that transit information out, as well as their kiosks around the region. And then the VDOT project website, which is transform66.org, has a section dedicated to outside and a specific page dedicated to the Cedar Lane project, where there's a lot of great information that people can find out more about.
So what should travelers expect in the area, and what is the anticipated impact of the detour route on I-66?
Travelers in the area, obviously we'll have an official signed detour that directs people to use Gallows Road to get around the bridge itself. I would say, though, while there is that official signed detour, we always encourage people to think about where their intended destination is and what is really the best way to get there. You don't necessarily have to travel that official signed detour if that's not the smartest way for you to get from point A to point B for your trip. It's take off the autopilot when you get in your car and think about different ways to travel for those local travelers. For people on I-66, as with construction throughout the corridor, I-66 travelers should expect lane shifts. They should expect overnight lane closures, stoppages along I-66 for certain activities, and also potential detours off of I-66 for certain construction activities coming up over the summer months.
And what should the drivers do to help and make this go well?
Sure, pay attention. That's probably the number one thing we like to say, pay attention. There are a lot of signs out in the corridor for construction. We know that, but all those signs are there for a purpose, to alert drivers of changes that are happening or that there is work going on in the corridor. While this is the road that you drive on, this is the road where these construction crews work and go to their jobs.
Right.
We also like to ask to remind drivers to slow down your speeds while traveling on the highway and to put your cell phones down when you're behind the wheel. All goes to paying attention to your surroundings and looking for traffic pattern changes as they are being implemented over the course of the next several years.
And that will help with safety a lot. What do you anticipate will be the impact of the town of Vienna roads?
Sure. So as part of our planning process for the work on Cedar Lane Bridge, we did an origin and destination analysis of what traffic is actually using the bridge today. And when we did that, we found that about 2/3 of the vehicles traveling on Cedar Lane Bridge today are what we would consider cut-through traffic, vehicles traveling from, say, points west, City of Fairfax and points west, and going to Tyson's Corner. Where only about 1/3 of the traffic was what you'd consider local traffic for the town. We found in the analysis that this regional traffic, this cut-through traffic, just naturally found its way to other more major routes that it probably should already be on anyway, like 495, Route 29, US 50, major roads like that. Whereas local traffic was, utilizing Nutley and Gallows as their way around. And we did find a marginal increase in travel time for local traffic to get around, but not a significant amount. And I think there are some other programs that VDOT's been working with the town, so I'll let Michelle talk a little bit about that.
As part of our relief during construction, VDOT has a transportation management program in place that's been in place throughout construction, where we work with localities and transit agencies to identify options that could be of assistance to help people get through this construction, to help make their commutes a little bit more bearable by giving them alternative choices. I know that we are working and will continue to work, with the town and with the other localities. Should something be needed, a modification to maybe traffic signals or some other type of an operational tweak, we have a program in place where we can try to do that.
I understand that some of the work may be done at night. I think you've mentioned a little bit about that. How may that go? Or what do you expect to be the impacts of that?
So we try to do our most impactful work during the daytime hours. However, there's some work that just has to be done at night, and particularly work that has to be done over top of travel lanes of I-66. So when we are doing work that is over top of those travel lanes, we need those travel lanes to be closed underneath us for safety. And so those multiple lanes on I-66 can really only be closed during overnight hours, and so that work is limited to those overnight hours for the safety of the traveling public.
And will the public know in advance, like which roads will be closed at night for construction?
So we put out weekly updates on lane closures on I-66. People can sign up to get those alerts on the project website outside.transform66.org. And those weekly emails come out on Friday and alert to what travel impacts are going to be the following week. And then also where we know we have significant impactful work such as demolition that might be taking place at night near residences. We also put out information in the form of press releases and use that listserv to put out information about those impactful works during the overnight hours as well.
And you touched on this a little bit. What will neighbors notice as far as impacts to their lives when they...
Sure. So besides having to deal with a detour for a few months while we have the bridge closed to reconstruct it, certainly there are some construction activities that are more noisy and more impactful than others. We try to do the most impactful works during our daytime hours, such as pile driving, one that people are familiar with. We do limit those to daytime hours. But some things like demolition have to be where over top of I-66 have to be done at night. Where we can do demolition work outside of over top of I-66, we try to do those during daytime hours. Those do involve the use of things like jackhammers and hoe rams, which can be noisy, and so that's why we try to be respectful of the neighbors who live around our work areas, but also having to work for the safety of the traveling public. Sometimes we have to do that work during overnight hours. We do try to mitigate our impacts where it's feasible. So for things like demolition, we haul our concrete away and process it off-site during the daytime. We do have dust control measures in place, and we do also monitor our vibrations and our noise throughout those more impactful activities.
I understand that there may be some new pedestrian connections built into the project.
Yeah, so as part of the Transform 66 project, we're building about 17 miles of shared use path and sidewalk throughout the corridor, primarily in Fairfax County. The shared use path that we're constructing will connect a lot of existing or planned trails. I know we're connecting to a planned trail that the town is planning down Nutley Street to provide as part of the project goal, different alternatives of travel along the corridor. Cedar Lane Bridge will have some of those trail connections as well. So when we're done on Cedar Lane Bridge, there'll be a sidewalk on the west side, but on the east side will be a shared use path that will connect to that new corridor shared use path trail.
When do you expect the bridge to be completed and Cedar Lane be reopened?
Sure. So we anticipate that the bridge will be completed and open for traffic in mid-November of 2020, so hopefully before Thanksgiving holiday, where we'll hopefully all be out driving around to our families by then. So
that would be great. Is there any chance that the project timeline can be sped up since metro and car traffic is a little lighter than normal, and we have this pandemic environment with the COVID-19 and how we have the stay-at-home orders and there's not many cars on the highways now. You think it's going to go along quicker than you normally would be?
So we've been working with VDOT over the last month and a half that we've had these stay-at-home orders in place, and travel on the I-66 corridor has been less to be able to advance some activities where we can, but also there are activities that we can quickly pull ourselves out of if we need to. That said, when it comes to things like bridge construction, some critical materials such as the steel bridge beams that support the bridge, those get ordered months in advance and are on a scheduled path for making them and then delivering them. So for bridge construction, we're kind of on set schedules of when those can occur, when those steel is delivered, and we'll be able to get that up. And then also, while construction is an essential industry, and we've been working through this crisis, our workers are feeling the effects of the coronavirus just as all other industries are. And so while we may make advances in other places, we are also dealing with the same things that many businesses are dealing with today.
What are some other upcoming projects or current projects that are I-66 related that may be of interest to residents in Vienna and those who travel through Vienna?
Sure. So the Transform 66 outside the Beltway project itself is 22.5 miles from the 495 Beltway interchange all the way out to Gainesville in Prince William County. So it's a big project. It's a mega project, I guess why it falls under the VDOT mega project program. But within kind of the area that maybe Vienna residents are concerned about on their day-to-day lives, at the 495 interchange, people will have seen in the last couple months structure starting to come out of the ground of new bridge piers. Bridge work will continue at the 495 interchange for the next year and a half, 2 years, as the project continues. At Gallows Road, we've already begun building half of the new Gallows Road bridge, that bridge work will be continuing over the summer. We're scheduled to lift our first bridge beams over Gallows Road here later this summer.
Wow.
While new Gallows Road is under construction, we will maintain 4 lanes of travel on Gallows Road, and there will be maintained pedestrian access as well. So that bridge is being built in phases. Obviously here at Cedar, and then heading further west at Vaden Drive. We closed Vaden Drive last fall, similar fashion as we're doing here at Cedar Lane. And Vaden Drive is under construction and on schedule to open to be completed in September of this year. And then I think for Vienna residents, the last thing, Nutley Street. Drivers will start to see some work around the Nutley Street interchange, the 66, and particularly on the I-66 ramps to Nutley Street, where we'll start to do some activities to kind of reconfigure the ramps, very similar to what we did at the Route 123 interchange, and that will allow us to advance some work around without affecting the throughput on Nutley itself, and also take advantage of some of the lighter travel volumes that we're seeing right now.
So when will the new express lanes on I-66 be opened?
So the express lanes are scheduled to open in December of 2022.
Okay.
So it doesn't seem like that far away, and a lot of construction to happen between now and then. So, yeah.
What if people want more information about this project or updates on the Cedar Lane Bridge project?
So the VDOT and our project and the project team maintain a robust website. The address is outside.transform66.org. There's great information on there, both historical and current, about the project. Everything from travel impacts and what lanes might be closed the coming week, to information about what construction activities are happening at key areas about the project. We also, on that website, have a dedicated page, and the quick web address is outside.transform66.org/Cedar Lane. So easy to remember, hopefully. On there, people can find a lot of the information that we've talked about here today, plus more. We have a video presentation. We had hoped to do a live public meeting to share this information, but obviously the current health crisis has not made it possible for us to have public gatherings. But we did tape a presentation and have it up as a video file in both English and Spanish. And we have flyers that are in both English and Spanish that provide a lot of information, more detailed information on the planned detours and other construction activities and details around Cedar Lane Bridge. That webpage will be updated throughout the construction process, so people can go there to look for updated information as the project continues.
Great.
And we work closely with the media to report upcoming traffic impacts and lane closures. So we're always putting out notices, and also through VDOT's Twitter. And
as the project goes along, are there any milestones that maybe residents should look for, maybe the 4th of July or August? Are there certain points of time and where something may change that it might be dramatic for them to kind of keep their eye open on?
So we have several. I think it's dramatic, is always when we lift bridge beams into place. For a driver, obviously that creates an impact on I-66 because we have to stop traffic, and depending on the location, detour traffic off of I-66. We have several bridge steel settings to take place over the summer months. Gallows Road, Cedar, Vaden, and the 123 interchange, as well as Germantown, just a little bit further to the west. Those are big milestones for people to see because it shows, it's a visual that people can see, wow, that's a new bridge there. And so we encourage people to look for that and celebrate those milestones with us, but also to know that there is a traffic impact associated with that as well as we do that work. So,
Sure.
yeah. We have some other major milestones on the project coming up here later this summer that out at further west at the 28 interchange.
Okay.
The 28 interchange is almost as large as the 495 interchange in terms of complexity. We lovingly refer to it as our mini Springfield mixing bowl on the project. And we will be opening brand new ramp connections at the 28 interchange here in a couple months. Being able to move traffic into a new formation. So people out traveling in that corridor will really start to see over the next few months what the new configuration of the interchange is going to look like. The opening of those ramps will allow us to remove the last of the 4 remaining signals on 28 between just south of I-66 all the way up to almost the Loudoun County line. So it's pretty exciting things coming here in the next few months.
Well, this is very exciting. I'm ready for this to get going. I know it's already underway, but I mean, I know there are a lot of other steps that need to take place. So, well, thank you so much for sharing all this really good information to me and to all of our residents here in Vienna. Always, let us know when there's something that we need to share with our residents, and we'll pass that information along. We want to be here to help you as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your partnership. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And for more information about this project and any other project going on in the town, please look at our website at viennava.gov. Thank you very much, and please stay safe.